Willie, let's get your team news first and foremost.
Yeah, so James Batchelor's got another. Well, he's got an appointment tonight with the specialist, so hopefully he gets the all clear tonight, and then looking for return to play next week if there's some positive news tonight. Ethan Ryan's, he'll be in. He's been training with us, so he's eligible for selection at the moment. Just got to get through another session, but he's back this week. We've lost Elliot Minchella with that neck issue. He kept going till he couldn't go anymore, and now it's just sort of got the better of him. So the return to play there, we're probably looking at, it's a tricky one. It's sort of a 2 to 6 weeker one. Obviously, the 2 we're trying to get him back for the semi of the cup, but potentially it could go longer than that as well. So a bit of a general update there.
Well, let's take them as they occur. Who's in the frame to go in at loose forward then?
So Dean Hadley's played there, and played extremely well many times. So Dean will play loose forward this week.
So that means that you've got a vacancy in the back row. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, there's a few options. We've got Jimmy Kindhorse that can play there. We've got Lewis Johnson that can play there. So there are some genuine options there. Matt Staunton's played there last week, so Stoz can play there as well. So we've got some options there.
With Tanguy Zenon going back to France at the end of his loan, it comes down to a straight swap or a straight choice between Jack Walker and a returning Ethan Ryan if he is fit, doesn't it?
Yeah, and there's Corey Hall as well that can play there. He's played there in the past, so there's some options there. But yeah, what we want to do is bring some energy back into the team. And the guys you mentioned there will certainly do that.
How much have you missed that go forward running from Ethan Ryan? Because he doesn't run back like a fullback; he runs back like a winger, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, mate, we've missed. We're going by last week. We missed it throughout the whole team. Not so much, around our back 3 or back 5. Our middles needed to run, be more direct. And there's no doubt, whether Ethan comes in and plays, if he does play on the wing or he does play at fullback, he's going to give you the same, intent in terms of his return of his carry. He likes to get into some space, and he's he's very good once he gets into some space. So certainly, mate, as I said before, we need to get some energy back in the team, and the guys that were mentioned will certainly bring that.
What's the situation vis-a-vis the wing with forward Yaha not being with you anymore?
What's the situation? Sorry, mate. What did you say?
What's the situation on the wing with forward Yaha not being with you anymore?
So there's obviously Lewis Senior there. There's Ethan, and then we've got the option again to. Whether we look at Corey, but it's be more those other two. We'll come down to Lewis and Ethan.
Was Lewis unfortunate not to get the nod to start the last game?
Yeah, we got our reasons internally, and he knows that, and the reasons for not being in the team. And to be honest, he agreed that he needed to improve in certain areas, but he's working hard now to work on that. So he's not far off. If it is this weekend or it is another weekend, but he certainly puts himself in the picture from what he's done a couple of weeks ago.
Those issues, are they more revolving around the defensive aspects of the game rather than the attacking?
Yeah, I don't want to get into it too much, sort of publicly or open about the areas he needs to work on, but he's fully aware of it.
And you had Ryan Hall back last week, but he didn't get much chance to show what he could do. In fact, nobody did they?
No, mate. The positive to Hawley is, that injury, obviously going in having a minor operation. A lot of players don't come back for, at least a couple of weeks, sometimes 3 weeks, and he found himself. He's come back and played for us within, that sort of 10-day period or whatever it was. So they're the type of players that we want to have and that we need at the moment. It's no secret we're going through some adversity around the injuries, but again, it's not what we don't have, it's what we do have. And bringing someone like Ryan back, who wants to be there, is always going to be a benefit. So it was hard for him to get in the game. We weren't in the game from kicking out in the full. That was the start of it, and then it didn't get any better from there. So you can't blame. We'll say blame. It's hard for Ryan to get involved.
Yes, the form's dropped off, hasn't it, of late? Can you put your finger on why that is?
There's naturally a lot of change to our team. If you said at the start of the year where we were in terms of having our best team that you think is for that first game, experts still had us down that second last and third last, and we started the season extremely well, and naturally we got hit into some certain key people in our team are out of the team. So you're bringing in guys that are sometimes less experienced or probably playing a lot. They're playing a lot of minutes. They're playing every week now. Where in an ideal world you don't want to do that. You want to sort of bring them along slowly. So some guys are learning really quickly and learning on the run. So you're going to have little dips in performances, but we certainly don't want to have the dip that we had last week. The games against Wigan, the games against Warrington, you can accept that as a club and a team, but we're not going to accept the performance from last week.
Have you had to read the riot act a little bit?
Oh, we just had to have a look again of who we are, because we obviously, we've made a lot of inroads and we're getting there, but we're certainly not there. We're not the finished product, that's for sure. And we're not going to be until you've got a squad. You've got a squad of 30 players that can come in and do a job just as well as the guy who wore the jersey before. And, and that job for us has always been around competing and effort. Every player is different in terms of talent, so I'll never be critical or hard on players for if they're not as talented as someone else, but I will be when it comes to effort and competing. So we've just had to have a good look at, who we are again, and just a little reminder of who we are, because we've gone away from that. There's a couple of games this year, Catalans, a few weeks back, and then again last weekend. So as I say, you can lose games, but lose them, going all in and being who you are. And then if you fall short, you can accept that, and then you look at things of how to improve. But we're not going to accept last week.
Can I talk to you a little bit about Mikey Lewis? And are you having to refocus him in on what it's about and not get involved in the minutiae of the cut and thrust, which can take away from what he does best in the game?
Yeah, so players like Mike, they're built different. The way they, their character and he performs at a high level. Like he's a high achiever. So sometimes he's going to do things and he's going to go near the line. And that's what you want from when I say what you want. You don't want to never cross the line, but those type of players, they're always pushing the boundaries. But when it comes to stages where they are going over, crossing the line, then you need to have some honest conversations. So for me at the moment, like Mikey had a bit of a, I suppose, wake up call last week, because he probably, came close to the line, went over the line a couple of times here and there, but probably never got, his team never got put under pressure from it. On the weekend, we did. Now, in saying that, for Mike being on the away for 10 minutes, we shouldn't have let 2 tries in 3 minutes. That hasn't anything to do with him. But that's got, we've defended our try line, and we've scored 1 or 2 tries before when we've been down to 12 men. But it's he's going through, he's learning, he's young, in his development. So we've just got to keep educating him around, things that he should be doing more often, and then obviously taking away the things that he shouldn't be. But what we don't want him to be is a target for referees or a target for other players or anything like that, because then you're bringing on attention to yourself.
Are you a little bit fortunate to have him available? He could quite easily have picked up a suspension for what happened in the game against Leigh, couldn't he?
Yeah, I think 10 minutes, to be honest, that was enough. I mean, there's an argument there that he slid again, because it's Mike, because he's putting himself in some situations before. Then maybe it gets looked at that he's done it intentionally. But yeah, I think 10 minutes was enough.
In terms of the reasons behind it, the psychology behind it, it strikes me that it's just sheer frustration, isn't it?
There's a lot of things there. There's a lot of obviously everyone's built different, and everyone handles pressure, adversity, in different ways. And mate, to be honest, like there was a period there when we were winning our 6 games that Mikey was on top of his game, and he led through his actions around competing, and he led through the KR way. And we'd say that pretty much every team meeting. Then what happened? We had some injuries to some key personnel, so then Mikey had to run the team, and that's not not saying it's not his job, but he's more of a half that plays off the back of someone that can get a team around the park, and he gets the ball when he wants the ball because there's something on. So he had to take a different role on. So I'm fully aware of that as a coach, that he's had to take added responsibility. So he's learned a lot this year, and he's going through a lot of learning. But yeah, he just needs to know when he has to rein it in a little bit, and then when to obviously let himself play and play with freedom and go.
Well, as a coach, you never want to take that vim and vigor and competitive spirit away from him, and I guess you can't teach it. He's got to learn it himself, hasn't he?
It's like anything. If you make errors and mistakes, you can only get better by learning from it and not doing it again. So if he keeps, if we all keep making the same mistake, then you're not learning, are you? So I'd like to think that put in different situations again, he's going to learn. There's some silly things in Mike's game, but again, there's a lot of good things as well. So he's done a lot of good for us this year. People haven't seen behind the scenes in team meetings and the way he leads the players, out in training and that type of stuff, where the start of the year, that wasn't Mike's strength. So he's growing in a lot of areas, but he also needs to learn in others as well. So, for me, last weekend, 10 minutes in the space, was it from the first 4 or 5 minutes of a game, you're down 12-0 when you come back on. That's a good way to learn not crossing the line at times.
How do you feel the partnership between Rowan Milnes and Mikey Lewis is going at the moment? Is it an embryonic thing? Is there more to come? Do you want more from it?
Well, it's only new. I mean, they played together last year, but Rowan's only come back from a 6-week injury as well. So, the Salford and Wakefield game, I thought Salford into the first half of Wakefield, I thought was really strong. Second half, we fell away. We went away from our plan and what was working. So as halves, you need to own that. So they probably needed to own that second half a little bit better. And then you look at the league game, we weren't in the game at all. But there was a period there that was 16-0 down, and we started to get a few sets in. I would have liked us to handle that period a little bit better. They run our attack. Our attack wasn't where it needed to be last week. They're fully aware of that. So, does it need to be better? Yeah, it does. But they're young halves, and they'll be better for it.
Okay, let's turn to the game then. The last time we played them, it was 40 points to 0. You're in a different place this time. Certainly, Hull FC are in a different place. What's your thoughts on it?
Exciting. Looking forward to it. It's a derby game. Absolutely. It's when I first come over, I was always told this is a special game. I experienced the firsthand at FC Stadium. It was a special game. Well, obviously, the result was, but in terms of the atmosphere, in terms of the build-up and everything that the derby stands for, and this will be no different, but except it's at our place. So really, really looking forward to the occasion, and more importantly, the players are looking forward to it as well. So regardless of of how you're going in terms of ladder position, but we're still in a strong position ladder wise, but it's not about where we're sitting or where they're sitting. It's who turns up on Sunday and performs better will win.
What did you learn, if anything, from that first derby game?
How passionate the fans are. Like that's what I learned. I knew they were passionate, but in terms of I've experienced some great derbies over in the Roosters and the Rabbitohs, and was involved in the Dragons and Sharks games. But I mean, the crowd here is obviously twice as loud, 3 times as loud. But yeah, they're great games. They're exciting games, and as I say, we're fortunate to get that first one. No doubt they'll be coming here to try and square up. But again, we'll just focus on what we can do.
What have you made of the progress of Hull FC? Because as I say earlier, they're in a different place to where they were when you first met them.
They're certainly a better team. There's no doubt about that. They've pretty much got their full strength team this week, by the sounds of things. So they're in a good spot, and they're certainly working hard for each other. They've improved a lot since last time we played them. So it's going to be a good game. It's going to be an occasion where we need to. There's no better occasion for us to come back, and as I said, we lost who we were last week. There's no better occasion for us to come back and dive into who we are again at our home ground.
Where are the key battles? Where are the can't lose battles? How do you assess that?
Yeah, definitely through the middle. There's no doubt about that. There's I'm a massive believer in the middles win games, and the halves and then the outside backs by how many, and there's no doubt about that. So whoever gets on top in terms of the pack I believe will win the game. If our pack gets on top, then we'll have enough points in us to score points off the back of it, and vice versa. I'm sure they'd be thinking the same.
Yeah, in terms of the personnel that they've got Jake Truman coming back in, and Clifford and Hoy, who are the influential players, will have a big part to say in where the points go. Do you put any special emphasis on those to try and stop them, or do you look at things more in the round?
I know Tex and Jake, well, really good players, quality players. There were some comments made, when they first come over. I'm sure has got some players excited, for the week ahead. But I've got a lot of respect for those two boys. They're quality players. There's no doubt that Jake's on top of his game. He came over here to gain more confidence as a player, and to build his game, and there's no doubt that he's doing that at Hull FC. Texas have been unfortunate to have the hamstring issue that he's had, but he started the season really well. And there's no doubt with Jake there that they're more stable in the halves. He's a very good runner of the football. So they'll be in a good spot. But they've got some good options there. We're assuming that's what they'll go with, but there's no doubt they've got some good options. And as I said before, they're pretty much full strength. So they'll have a good spine. And I think obviously Danny Horton playing at 9, like he's an FC through and through. To be honest, it was when he wasn't there the first time, it was a surprise, because he's a type of player that will play with passion this week, and he's going to be a handful for us.
Take aside the emotions, if you can, of it being a derby. Take aside the emotions of the fans rivalry, and look at this game in isolation of its importance in terms of what you want to do and where you want to be at the end of the season. I suspect that a victory, I know you talked about not wanting the ladder to be the influence, but I suspect a victory at this stage of the season is huge, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think when you look at last week, Willem, a good performance is huge for us. Like, naturally, you got to win games, but if we play like we did last week, or we play a little bit better than what we did last week, we're not going to get a result. We need to go into the back half of the year, and obviously we've got a cup semi with solid, good performances. So we go back. We got beat by Wigan on the bell. It was a good performance. Same with Warrington. It was a good performance. When you do that, then the wins will eventually come, because you fix up the areas that you need to be better at. So for us at the moment, yes, of course, are we going out to win this game? Yes, we are. But we need to put in a performance for 80 minutes and get our end right first, because, as I said to you, mate, we've lost a a little bit of who we are, and we need to get that back, because the games that we were in, it doesn't matter. I'm not talking about who was in and who wasn't in terms of who we've lost. It's the games that we've been in all year, regardless of who plays, has been our style. So we need to go back to our style. If we do that, then we have won more than what we've lost when we've played our style.
Thank you on the game side of things. I just want to have a final question with you about how much buzz are you getting? How much build-up excitement are you getting for being in charge of Hull Kingston Rovers for your first home derby against Hull FC?
Yeah, very excited. I mean, I love what I do, so I get excited, to be honest, every week. But there's no doubt, like when you turn up to a derby game like we did last time, it's like, wow, this is a little bit different. They are, you know, you can play it down and say it's just another game, but they're a special occasion, and I want to I like to treat it that way, because you know, whenever it is, but when you look back on your career and you have memories, you're always going to look to the moments that stood out the most, and these are moments. And so far this year, there's no doubt that game that we played last time, that's the best moment for this team from this year. We've had some good moments, but in terms of, you know, the build up and what it's all about, and the performance, it was a memorable game. So we'll try and create that this week, but we also want to enjoy it, because they're special occasions. We're lucky to do it. I'm lucky to be head coach of this club doing it. The players are lucky to be playing in this game. So there's a responsibility there to go out and do the right thing about it.
And what about your two boys as well? At school, are they getting wrapped up in the rivalry? The schoolmates saying, "Oh, you know, your dad's coach of Rovers and I'm a Hull FC fan, da-di-da-di-da."
Yeah, mate, it's hard not to. That's exactly what happens. So they're like anyone else. They're wrapped in it now. They're a part of it. They, you know, they look in the table and go, when are we playing FC again? So it's all part of it. And I've bought into that, because it's you know, we've got respect for FC. I've got respect for Tony as a coach, and all that sort of stuff. But it's they're special occasions, and you know, everyone wants bragging rights. So my kids want it as well.
Yeah, indeed. And there's no bigger place for that rivalry to show its ugly head or show its good head than in the schoolroom and in the playground and with the mates at school, is it?
Exactly, mate. It's good. The banter starts at a young age, and it's, you know, it's healthy as long as it doesn't, again, cross that line. But no, it's good, mate. They love their school, and there's a good mix there of FC and KR. So there's some good banter going.
Yeah, good stuff. Thank you very much. As always, appreciate your time, Willie. Thank you.
Cheers, Gwilym. Thank you, mate.
Hey, Willie. How are you doing?
James, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good, thank you. Overnight, Canberra announced that Brad Schneider's left the club to pursue an opportunity over here. What's the latest on that?
Yes, mate. So I can announce that we have signed Brad. So he'll be coming over for Saturday. He'll be over here Saturday. Won't be playing in the derby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's much needed for us this time of the year. It gives us depth in the halves, and the other thing it gives us, which I've always said since I come to the club, is we want to have healthy competition for positions. So it'll do that.
What kind of qualities will he bring to the team?
Yeah, he's going to be a player. Well, he's young. He's 22. But what I do know about him, he's got a very good running game. He's got a very solid kicking game. So we've at our club, we've got all left foot kickers. It's crazy. We don't have any right foot kickers, or Matty Parcell out of 9. But other than that, so he's got a good right foot on him, and he's a good defender. So they're the three main sort of strengths that he's got. And from what I've speaking to Brad and from more reports, he's a very good person, and that's what we want to have. So we're at a stage of the year, we need good people in the club, people that are going to fit into our culture. And I've no doubt that he'll do that.
Yeah, I saw some comments from Ricky Stewart said that the deal includes a recall option or something. Can you just clear up that aspect of it?
Yeah, so my understanding is the Raiders halves, obviously touchwood they don't, but they need to, if they have like a 4-week injury, I think it is, plus, then they can recall Brad back at any time. If it's a minor one, my understanding is that he stays here. So obviously hoping everyone stays fit, everyone's playing well, and then Brad can stay with us.
Well, it's not a loan deal though, is it? Or is it?
No, it's not a loan deal. It's a deal. But yeah, it's a deal where they can. The agreement was that they can take him back. So they see Brad as that next half. So naturally, if it was a couple of week injury, they would probably move players into around and make it work that way. But they see Brad, if it was a longer term injury to one of their halves, he's the next half in line. So as I say, it would need to be a 4-week injury.
How comfortable are you with that as a coach, that lingering in the background? You could get him into form and then lose him.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not thinking of it, even though I should with the injuries we've had. It's just pleasing to get a player of he's a young player, but he's a promising young half. So we need that at the moment. Like what we need to have here is competition for spots. We really do. There's situation in games, there's performances, there's discipline. There's a lot of different factors that come into picking your team, and we need to have some competition. So Brad will bring that. And yeah, to be honest, mate, we've had enough injuries, so I'm trying not to think about him.
No, fair enough. Just if he turns up in good condition, which you'd imagine he would is he likely to feature at Leeds next week?
Yeah, look, we'll see how this week goes. I do want to play him. I do want to see, what we've got. So, there's some players there that have been playing long minutes. They've been playing every week. So we'll definitely have a look at that. I'm not going to say 100%, but at this stage, that's the aim. But it's one of those, mate. Like you just don't know because of injuries and things like that. Like we've, obviously Lachlan retiring, and then we'd brought in Jack, so we hadn't had a plan to bring in a half, and then George goes down again. So you just never know. But yeah, definitely we've brought him over to play, and whether that's against Leeds, we'll see.
I imagine this will give everyone a lift as well at the start of a big month. Yeah,
that's the aim. There's no doubt, as I said before, we've got players that are playing every week and long minutes. And this stage of the season, most teams are feeling it, but we're certainly feeling it a lot because of, as I say, there's guys playing week in, week out. So then you bring in, Brad and even Jack, like coming over and bringing him in. It just helps. It just gives the players energy. It's a new voice around training. And it's someone, that we want to welcome to our club, and we look forward to welcoming into our club.
Lovely stuff. Thank you very much. All the best on Sunday. Cheers.
Thanks, mate.